Hey guys, I'm back. Told you I wouldn't leave you hanging. So, I just got home from cutting my mom's yard for her. I swear that's the only reason she's glad I survived this whole mess. Kidding, Mom, kidding. um, so, in my last video, I left you off at I had finally moved out on my own. I'm living in that studio apartment, and how it was such a great setup for me, and it was just right down the road from where I was used to live for 10 plus years. So it was a very easy transition for me. And at the same time, I finally got that job at Gold's Gym as a personal trainer. And and keep in mind, through all this, I know I have a way of kind of downplaying everything to make it seem like it wasn't that big of a deal. It's kind of a piece of cake, but it wasn't. Keep in mind, through all this whole series of events I've been talking to you about, I've got the pee problem going on. Got to pee every 30 minutes to an hour. Very frustrating. Um, and I was in danger of a migraine headache just everywhere, every corner I turn. Anytime I would try to go running or work out, which is pretty much all I did at that time, I ran the risk of getting a migraine. There was a while there where every time I would come home from work, when I was working at Goals, where I would have a migraine headache every night, and so I would work until 6:37, and just be down for the count because my head was killing me. And then we kind of stumbled on to the whole pH 10 level water that I should be drinking, or should have been drinking this whole time. And so the headaches kind of slowly started to reduce, but man, do they suck. so so anyways, so what I left you off at, moved out, great studio apartment. I'm working at Gold. So, and as far as being a personal trainer goes, it's now that I look back on it, it's a fun hobby job, side job, but it's definitely not a good source of your main income. It's just not that good. And now that I look back on it through this whole accident mess, working there was probably the worst thing for me mentally, because for anybody who's ever been in a gym, at least at this gym, it was very superficial. You got, and especially for me, all eyes were on me because I worked there. I was a trainer, and everybody's looking how I worked out, how my form is, what kind of workouts I'm doing. And you had those clients or those members who they wouldn't, they were so cheap, they wouldn't pay the money to sign up for a training package. They would just copy off what you do on your workouts and settle for that. I hated those people. So everybody, all eyes were on me every minute of the day from 11 to 6 every day. So eventually that caught up with me, and it was just very tiresome. You get sick of all eyes being on you at all times of the day. And that's another thing. If you look, think about that picture collage that I showed you. If you hadn't picked up on, like, the way I looked through this whole mess, kind of let people know how I was recovering. So if I looked good, people would say, "Whoa, Mike's doing really good. He's recovering very well." But if I look like crap, they say, "Gosh, he's really struggling." So it was very hard for me to, always had to maintain looking good, and it was hard for me to not kind of get that sense of superficialness because of how my recovery and how I looked was going, and then throw that into working at a gym also. So it was just very, and that's just not me. I don't care, my whole life I was athletic and I loved to play sports, and it was just a package deal that I ended up being in shape to do that. It wasn't like I purposely played soccer because it made me look good. I did it because I loved the sport. So also, so I left you at training moved out. Okay, now we're gonna go forward. So I'm moving. I'm living on my own. Started doing the personal training, and it was all right job back then. And my clientele is starting to slowly go up, and it wasn't that bad. And then I'm working with VR, which is vocational rehabilitation, at the same time. And what they do is their job is to help traumatic brain injury survivors kind of re-enter into society, get a job and be an active social person. So at this point, I've been working with them, and at the time, my counselor's name was Mike Torres, great guy, and they gave the option to me, and they said, well, do you want to go back to school? We just want to see what you want to do. And at the time, school was never my forte, it just wasn't that big of a deal. When I was in high school, the only time I got good grades was so I could go hit the soccer field. Okay, as bad as that sounds, that's just how it was. Whenever my grades were up, that's because it was soccer season. So they gave me that option. I was like, you know what? I've thought about it, and if you remember, I told you I'm gonna be more personal with you about these videos, and this is where I'm gonna get really personal. And I'm not going to mention any names or anything, because that could get me into a lot of trouble, because it already did get me into trouble once, the reason that I actually got fired from Gold's Gym. So one of my clients actually ended up being a client. She wasn't a client at first. We started, this is a lot to say, but we started to have a little bit of a relationship. But here's the kicker. She was married and had 2 kids. And the whole time this is going on, she's lying to me and using me. And I'm very impressionable at this time. I'm kind of it's my second time around, so I didn't really know what was going on. I'm just going with the flow. And this woman, so evil. She's lying to me, telling me how she's not in a happy marriage and how she's thinking about leaving them, blah, blah, blah. And I'm eating it up. I'm like, all right. Okay. So eventually we start to, this goes on for like a year. And needless to say, it didn't end good. So anyway, so she gets the idea in my head that, being a personal trainer just isn't enough. Maybe I need to be a little more. And I'm thinking, well, if she wants me to be more than a personal trainer, maybe she wants something more. It's stupid, I know, trust me. And please don't judge me. I'm TBI survivor. I have no idea what's going on. So anyways, so then I'm like, okay, well, I got this school option. And I go to see a counselor at the community college. And I tell her how I'm a personal trainer. I like the sports stuff. I like the health stuff. And she drops this idea to be a surgical technologist. And pretty much what they do, if you don't know, they pretty much help the surgeons in the surgery room, with whatever kind of utensil they need. They need to know everything a doctor knows. They just don't get paid as much. So. And it all lined up that before my accident, I had gone to college too. So I had already had enough credits to where I could just jump into the program. So I'm like, all right, let's give it a shot. Seems all right. So I ended up only doing 2 semesters of this. Very, very hard school. I got all B's though. So yeah, on paper it looks like I knew what I was doing, but I wasn't retaining any of this information. And the last thing I wanted to do was, this was one of those jobs where you can't make a mistake, and it's like, oh, I'll do it better next time. If you make a mistake, somebody's life on the line. And I did not I did not want to have that weighing over my shoulders. So I did that for 2 semesters, and then let's see what else happened. So I did that for 2 semesters, and then I went back to just training. So I was personal training and working at Publix and doing the surgical tech school all at the same time. It's kind of a lot to do for anybody, let alone a TBI survivor, but I was doing it. So, and I'm making good grades at the same time. So it was a very stressful time for me, and I did not enjoy the school at all. I mean, in my experience, I did not meet one cool person in this program. I did what are called clinicals, and that's where you wake up or get to the hospital at 5 in the morning and just kind of go through the motions of what you would be doing. You go and watch the surgeon in the OR and just kind of get the feel of what you would be doing. And I just didn't like it one bit. And all the doctors were jerks. It was just not a good experience. So anyway, so that's pretty much how this came to. And so, like I said, I did 2 semesters of it, and then I just stopped going. I didn't want to keep going to school. I didn't want to do it. Yeah, it was hard, but that's not why I stopped. It was hard because I just didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. I'd be very unhappy. You would not like me one bit if I was doing this job. I would just hate life. I'd be the most miserable person in the world. And I like to smile, and I like to be happy, and I wouldn't have been, ever. So I stopped doing that, and then at this point, so I'm just, after the surgical tech school, all I'm doing finally is I get to relax a little bit, and I just am doing the training and working at Publix at the same time. And here's the kicker. Here's where it gets really interesting, as if it's not interesting enough. So I end up having to forcefully resign from Gold's Gym, because the woman I was having this affair with, it sounds bad and it's wrong, I know, but so she ended up getting breast cancer, which is horrible, I know. And I was just on a rampage, or not a rampage, but I was just mad one time. And of course, remember, this woman used me, and I'm not too thrilled about her. So I ended up through text message telling her, well, that's what you deserve. What can I say? And horrible, I know. I'm not that mean, trust me. So anyways, she goes to the owners of Gold's and tells them about it, shows them the text messages, and they talk to me about it, and they're like, we're going to have you resign. If you don't, she's going to sue us, which she wouldn't have done, I'm sure. And I'm sure if I really wanted to and cared enough and really wanted to keep that job, I could have made a big deal about it. But I was like, you know what? Fine, I'm out. So at this point, and no names were dropped there, so I can't get in any trouble, right? Hopefully. So all I got to do is work at Publix. And Publix, great. I met great people there and have good friends that work there, but it wasn't a career path that I wanted to stick with, So at that point, I'm just working at Publix. That's all I'm doing. And at this point, like I said, all I'm doing is working at Publix, and I'm stuck in Tallahassee, which I hated. So I'm gonna leave you there, and always, if you have any questions on this, let me know, and I'll try to answer them the best I can. Thanks, guys.